What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about having a bit of fun. Where did my scar come from? I'm sure you've noticed it before for all those subscribers, non-subscribers. I know you'll notice it now. So join the channel, I'll tell you the story of how it happened. We'll be going there in a minute. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Hymie's place. I'm glad you could come back and join me. Thank you very much to all the subscribers, and to the new subscribers, to the old subscribers. And if you want to subscribe, just hit that little button down there and you can be a subscriber too. And you can listen to the words of wisdom that comes out of Hymie's mouth all about life. We have a good time. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's just life. You know, it's life in general. I was having a chat with a mate this morning. I was having a coffee and we started talking about it. I mentioned I put up the video series on sailing, which he didn't know I'd done. One thing he did happen to mention was this scar in the middle of my head. I thought, well, I got that sailing. I got a few injuries sailing. Broken finger, broken feet, scar in the middle of my bloody head. That sailing, it's a tough game. You got to be careful. I'll give you on the story of this one, just in case you're curious. This little scar here, 5 stitches by the way, blood everywhere. Well, what was happening was, I come down to the boat and we were taking out a bunch of Japanese sailors. Not Japanese sailors, Japanese tourists I should say. Sailors, I wish they were sailors, that would have been handy. We were taking out a bunch of Japanese tourists. And we were going across a place called the Whitsunday Passage, which is an open ocean, but it can get pretty hairy in there, tight against wind. The sea can sit up and bounce you around, and probably a 1.5 waves, 2 foot waves, you know. So we're on a 67-foot boat. There's the 2 of us, me and the captain. Lots of wind, and it was pretty full-on sailing that day, even though we only had 10 passengers. So anyway, as we're bouncing along, the painter, or the rope at the back of the boat which ties the dinghy or tender, that was a tender, and when I say tender is like a big dinghy. It could fit 22 people on it, so you can imagine it wasn't small. It was quite a large little boat, for want of better words. So anyway, that rope broke, and I thought, how are we going to go back and get that, you know? I mean, okay, we have to drop the sails in this wind in the middle of the ocean, bloody waves pounding, and I said, no, look mate, we'll tack around, we'll cruise past it, I'll dive off and pick up the tender, and you just keep going, and then when I jump back on the boat, we'll come back around, we can tack back and go back to where we're going. All sounded good in theory. So anyway, we're going, if we turn back around, we go back to get this boat, and this little tender, and I dove in. And obviously I dove in on the windward side, so the boat wasn't, when I jumped in the water, it wasn't being blown away from me, it was being blown towards me. And that way I didn't have to chase it, it would come to me. But little did I know, I jumped in a bit too close, didn't I? I didn't realise that. So anyway, as I'm coming up out of the water, that bloody thing come down, cracked me right on the top of the skull. Smack! I was lucky to hang on to it, nearly knocked me out in the middle of nowhere. The big boat's gone, he's gone. He's motoring down the road there because we've got a fair bit of wind and he's not dropping the sails. What happens? Crack! This thing hits me and I hung on. Anyway, I jump up, but it split me open. So here I am, trying to get back up on the main boat. I am absolutely covered in blood. Not just blood, but because of the seawater, it accentuated it. It made it look like, oh my God, what's happened to this guy? So anyway, I'm covered in blood and water, and I'm trying to get back up towards this boat. I've got this little bit of rope that's left on the boat, on the tender, and I can see the passengers on the back of the boat as I'm getting up close to it. So I'm trying to hand them the rope, but all these Japanese, what were they doing? They all had their cameras out, taking photos of my head with the blood everywhere. And I thought, oh, good on you. Anyway, so I managed to get back up on the boat. We turned around and we had a good day. I get back to the dock that night and went off to the doctors, and yeah, sure enough, 5 stitches in the middle of my head. So watch out for this sailing stuff. It might be fun, but it's also a bit dangerous. Break one of my feet, like I said, and my fingers. So you got to be careful when you're doing that sailing. You see the shirt today? I'm wearing sailing boots today. I don't know if you can see them, but they're there. Just for that story. So I thought I'd tell you that story. It was good having a coffee with my mate this morning, and he brings out that, reminds me of those stories. I think, oh yeah, that's life, isn't it? What would have happened? Did I cheat death again? I've cheated it a couple of times, so I've got lots of more stories. He said to do a series, Hymie's stories, but we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That was a pretty hairy moment in my life, but I had a ball when I was sailing. I had a ball. We used to sail up to this place called Nara Inlet. Beautiful place with little caves at the back end of it, a waterfall, Aboriginal paintings inside the caves. I think they were called the Ngari people. Used to own the land, the traditional owners. And another thing about them is, you know, they were the first cannibals, Aboriginal cannibal tribes. You know, people go, oh, cannibals? Yeah, seriously, they were. What they used to do is they used to jump into their little canoes, and from where they were at Nara Inlet, which was on Hook Island, they used to paddle their way up to Bowen, because Bowen was a big mining town, and they had lots of Chinese up there. And what they used to do is they used to go up and steal the Chinese people from the gold mines. Seriously. Because they liked the Chinese flesh, because all they ate was rice and so forth, so it was like clean fed. So they'd go up there and they'd get a couple of Chinese people and bring them back, knock them off and have a chew on them. You know, that was the first recorded Chinese takeaway in history. Sorry, I just had to do it. I couldn't help myself. But that was a story I used to tell the people when we went up to see the Aboriginal caves up at Hook Island there on Nara Inlet. I put some pictures up. It's a beautiful spot. It really is beautiful. And so fun. Sailing was such fun. I used to have a ball when I was out there on the water. I wish everybody, if you get a chance, that is something you should do on your next holiday or whenever you get a holiday. In your own country, my country would be beautiful. Whitsundays would be fantastic, but I'm sure you have some places that you can go sailing in your own country. Even on a lake or anywhere else, I recommend it to anybody. Yeah? You can just head out there, wind in your hair. Yeah, well, mine blew away. So, but wind in your hair and away you go. It's a magical feeling. It's fantastic. I was just running on about a story today only because I was just thinking about it this morning. You know, I thought it might be good. So anyway, look, I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much. This is just a fun one today. No stress, no nothing, no interviews, just me and you. Just me and you, and that's it. So that's all we're doing today. So I appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much. For those that are not subscribers, please subscribe, share my channel. That'd be fantastic. We normally have a few more serious things, but you know, lately I'm just having fun. I'm just having a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh, as you can tell. I'll get into the more serious things later on. The next couple of life series, this is a whole life series. This is good stuff. So thank you again very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And I'll be in touch again soon. Okay. Keep smiling.